Welcome to the Church Solutions Podcast, brought to you by JSL Solutions. The Church Solutions Podcast is designed to help equip you and your church in the use of technology and other tools and services. And now, here are your hosts, Steve Lacy and Phil Thompson.
Well, hello there, and welcome to another rousing edition of the Church Solutions Podcast.
Hi, my name is Steve Lacy.
And I'm Phil Thompson. Good to be with you on our weekly podcast. We are a company called JSL Solutions. We really love to help churches and ministries use technology to fulfill their purposes. Steve, we've got several products. Very quickly, before we get into today's topic, what do we actually bring to the table?
We bring 4 products right now. MyFlock.com, which is church management and websites, StreamingChurch.tv, live streaming, and Church App Live, which is a mobile app, and our newest product, Greeter.church, which is an online greeter for your church.
Awesome. So if you're interested in any of those products, just send us an email or go to those websites that he mentioned, support at StreamingChurch.tv. So we are actually going to talk a little bit today about the future of the church.
Yes. Is it rosy? Is it?
Well, I hope it is. It's
actually not that future, huh? But it's the.
Well, I'm stealing some notes today from a guy by the name of Jason Caston, 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 I guess is how you pronounce that. And Jason is a digital specialist, and he's actually a pretty well-known author of the book, The iChurch Method. Bottom line is I need to get him on this podcast one of these days.
Yeah,
I need to get some of these guys on here. Just got so much going on, it's hard to book people up. But we're going to talk about the future of the church, especially it's really in the realm of obviously digital. Online is what we're talking about here. So, and we're going to steal some of his notes here. And he does a nice job. And so stay with us here for the next 20, 25 minutes or so. He brings up some interesting things. See if you agree or don't agree. But he's really, the basis of this whole thing is he talks a lot about digital natives. And
yes.
Digital
natives or millennials may be considered digital natives.
They can be. Digital natives are obviously people that have been born into the realm of the digital experience, the online experience, as opposed to digital immigrants. And digital immigrants are people that have been born into the analog realm, and they have migrated over to the digital realm.
Yes. So a good way to probably characterize those, as he kind of outlined, the oldest technology that the digital natives will have come across would be tablets and smartwatches and phones, right, which would be the equivalent of our digital native Betamax players and VCRs and
there you go,
transistor radios for those of us that are digital immigrants.
My age, you mean?
Yes.
Your age,
so the oldest thing they'll go, remember when we used to have that smartwatch?
Yeah, back in the old days. So he brings up the point about the church is usually lagging behind technology, and that's, I think, would agree for the most part. Most churches are a little bit behind on some things. And so his point is, if you really want to reach people, you want to make sure that you're up to date, because this new generation is really fully immersed in technology, and they've been that way since they were toddlers, basically. Toddlers have been using iPads and things, for a long time. So his point is the disconnect from the church the churches that don't really meet them where they're at. And and where they're at, according to his notes, is they really want a customized experience. So they're used to having things customized on their Facebook feeds, on Google searches, Netflix, Spotify. They all kind of give suggestions.
It's all revolves around me, huh? So that's true, but it is customized to what Netflix thinks you may like. Amazon says you bought this, you may like this. My Facebook feed is only going to show my friends and not someone else's friends.
Right.
So,
And so, what does this have to do with the church? And should the church care? Should we even care about this? And his point is they're used to having their online experiences cater to them. And so, therefore, when they look at a church, an online church experience, or even an offline church experience, if it's outdated or if it's just really disconnected, so to speak, if it doesn't fit every aspect of their connected lives, therefore they're going to disconnect from it.
Right.
And I think he brings up a very good point here. And it's not that they're disconnecting from God. They're not doing that. They're just disconnecting from churches that don't really meet where they're at.
Right. So they'll join another group, or maybe not join a group at all, and just pursue the Bible on their own. Or so it's not that they're not interested in, I guess, the religious side of things. They're just not interested in how the church is doing it.
Yeah. And I think, I'm involved in church work as probably everybody listening to this podcast is, otherwise you wouldn't be listening to it. But I found that young people that attend our church, they're interested in spiritual experiences, but they're also interested in something that's going to be engaging, something that they can interact with online, something that's innovative, and be a part of that. So, anyhow, so moving on to this is kind of the premise of what we're talking about, the future of the church here. And so, they're going to look for something that's going to fit that category.
Right. And one of the things as you get in this next section, he's talking about there's not a divide between their online experience and their real life experience.
Yeah, it's interesting.
They are very blended. So they'll have social interactions with people face to face and then carry on those social interactions online.
Yeah. And a point that Jason Caston brings up here, which again I would agree with too, and he says, before you look down your nose at this generation, remember that every generation does something like this. They're looking for changes. They're demanding change from their church, based on their own experiences. And he goes on to talk about the seeker-sensitive movement in the church back in the 80s and 90s, and there's other movements that have kind of changed the way we do church over the last 100 years or so. I don't think you can argue with that if you really look at it from that point of view. Every generation is looking, they've got a movement. They're looking for something that's going to fit them. And the church usually, the ones that are reaching people generally make adjustments, make modifications in their services and what they do to try to reach that generation.
Yeah. So the message never changes, but the method changes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The message doesn't change, but the method changes. And I've always agreed with that idea. Maybe you don't agree with it listening to us today, but I think you can see that even in the scriptures. But anyhow, let's talk about the future.
So what does the church of the future, what is it, or our world of the future, what's it going to look like?
So he gives some things which I think are very good. A glimpse of the future of church that he sees, and I would concur with a lot of this. Maybe you don't, so listen to this and see what you think. We'd love to hear your opinion on this. He's seen some things based on technologies that we now have and what's emerging. So his first point is when we look at the Internet of things and always the connected future, we can conceivably see a future where we are never disconnected, and the things we look at every day will now be kind of what you would call smart objects.
Yeah. So it's in nerddom, it would be the Internet of Things, often abbreviated IoT.
Right.
So what the Internet of Things is just kind of what you said. The things that you take for granted in your everyday life are now connected to the Internet.
Right. So these smart objects connected. So in other words, he says, okay, there'll be a time when you get up in the morning and you'll either have your smart watch or some smart web-enabled device will tell you, how you slept, and will tell you what you've got planned for the day.
Yes,
you already have that.
I know, I do. I kind of yes. We think about that, and it was like, I've had that for a few years. I mean.
Yeah. So, you've got your smartwatch that you have.
Yeah, it started with a Fitbit,
right?
Which a couple of years ago, which is still, those are still around and available.
Still are?
Yeah, and you roll out of bed and you see, what's on my, for me, I talk to Alexa.
I have Alexa as well.
I say, Alexa, what's the weather and what's on my calendar?
Yeah, and Alexa, for those of you who may not know, Alexa is a device produced by Amazon.
Yes.
And it is a... how would you describe it?
It's called the Amazon Echo, and you would describe it as your Siri or your OK Google. Okay. But it's a speaker, a Bluetooth speaker that you can talk to and ask questions. I asked it just recently who was going to win the Super Bowl. This is before the Super Bowl, and Alexa had an answer.
What was the answer?
She got it wrong. She said she's a big fan of the Broncos, but she thought the Panthers were going to pull it off.
So it's actually called Amazon Echo. That's the technical term for it.
That's the device, yes.
Yeah, it's a device.
Yes, but the keyword is Alexa.
That's what wakes it up.
Yeah, so if you have one, we're driving it crazy right now in your home. So
well, it's in the back somewhere. It may not hear you, but all right. So his point is, there's a time it's already happening when you get up and all this stuff happens. You might walk to the mirror to brush your teeth or wash your face, and you will see a smart mirror with a screen where you could have a motivational scripture, motivational passage, or a video clip of an inspirational message. Interesting.
Yeah.
You could walk into your kitchen area and you would have a smart refrigerator, and it will tell us, what we should eat.
Your smart clothes will tell your smart refrigerator whether to open or not. So Depending on how tight your waistband is and what you've been doing that day or how well you slept or that sort of thing, it'll let your fridge know, should I open for this guy or do I should remain locked for a few more hours?
So
and point him to
the treadmill. He doesn't say that, but you're saying that. But so the fridge tells you what you should eat based on well, I guess he does have it here. I missed that. So interesting how the whole digital thing and the whole connection could. I mean, I haven't heard of a smart fridge. Is there such? I mean, I know there's fridges that do some stuff.
Yeah, there are, and there's some that So they're starting to scratch the surface with smart fridges, smart appliances, smart washing machines, and that sort of thing.
I've heard some of that.
Yeah.
So he goes on to talk about how on the panel of the fridge, there might be a Bible verse that will pop up or something that you can remember for the day, or even a continuation of a sermon, maybe, that you were watching.
Right. So you may want to be memorizing a certain scripture. So your mirror in your bathrooms has that scripture, and your fridge has that scripture. And
yeah. Wow, interesting stuff. Bathroom mirror and the whole thing. So interesting here as he talks about the future. So as we gather items for the day to go out and about, we look at our watch. It gives us all our vitals, exercise goals, all that stuff. We can tell our family goodbye, but his point is we're never really disconnected from them because we can always see where they are and communicate with them on our mobile devices. And I already do that now with my son and my wife. And
it's ironic how you back up a little bit and you go, wow, this is already going on.
It's already happening. I don't remember how this article might be a couple years old. But I communicate with my son. We don't have very good cell phone service where I'm at here. I'm out in the middle of nowhere, so to speak. And but he has Wi-Fi and he has Facebook Messenger. So a lot of times, if he's trying to get a hold of me, he just will use his Facebook Messenger app, and it will ping on my phone. And so it's like we're talking. Actually, Facebook you can even actually do a live call on Messenger if you wanted to, video as well. So interesting enough. So I think he makes a good point here. We're never really disconnected. From each other. So you can send online messages, social, all that stuff. And then, of course, he talks about the car. And in the car, we'll have, there'll be a day where it's self-driving. Self-driving cars are already popping up. Google's developing one. I hear Apple might be developing one. And the entire windshield is going to be a screen that shows you maybe the weekly sermon notes or a podcast on the screen because it's self-driving.
Right. You won't need, it's not as important to, And actually there's some cars on the road now. The new Tesla has some self-driving features as well.
Wow. There you go.
It makes you hold on to the steering wheel, but it will take care of things for you.
Yeah.
Change lanes, speed up, slow down.
Amazing. We still don't have the flying cars though. That's what I'm looking for.
Yes. Although, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but there is, someone has developed, drones are real popular, right. The quadcopters.
Yeah.
There's a quadcopter that you can sit in and go fly around on. So, and it's built, has all the quadcopter smarts built in it, so you don't have to be a helicopter pilot. You just sit in and say, "Oh, take me to work."
Wow. Interesting. That's interesting. And so, and then he also talks about how we can join our internet church online, with Bible studies from all around the world, and all the videos connected and talk and all that stuff, and connect with our spiritual goals and all that stuff. So, pretty interesting stuff. I think it is, anyhow.
Yeah.
The question comes down to, so the whole point of this little thing here is, if you are really trying to reach people in your church, if you're a pastor or executive pastor or a key leader in your church, what are you doing with your church to reach this generation? That's an online digital native generation. What are we doing as leaders in our church to do that?
Right. And it's very easy to turn them off by not addressing that.
Yeah.
So, or become discounted or old school, or my grandparents would really love it here because they too, don't know how to get on the internet, or
Yeah. I think there's a way to do a blended. I think you can do both.
Yes.
As we've talked a lot about here. So, I mean, that's one of the things about with what we have, the products that we offer with StreamingChurch.tv. It's not just video. It can be interactive video in the sense that you can chat with people, you can private message, you can do, prayer request online, chatting using text.
Right.
There's also, social media connections and links that you can put on a StreamingChurch.tv platform, so you can connect with Facebook and Google Plus and all that.
Right.
So the point is, are we doing, as leaders in the church, and I include myself in this, are we doing what we should be doing to make our church accessible to this generation?
Right.
And what do we need to look at, to get ourselves up to speed? We may not totally be up to speed on everything, but we can certainly make some steps to do that.
Right. You want to create an environment that's going to be appealing and natural for that set of people.
Yeah. It sounds like a task, especially if you're not really keeping up with things. It does sound a little daunting, but the truth is today there's so many tools out there now where, with, I think, really minimal effort, you can bring your website up to speed. You can freshen up your website. You can do things to connect with people online. It seems like a difficult task, but if you just start one place, and work your way from there, I don't think it's that hard to do if you really start putting a little bit of energy into it. And
just participate in that world.
Yeah.
Post on Facebook.
Yeah.
Friend your people at church.
So what do you think are three things that if I'm a pastor listening, or a key volunteer or a board member, what's the first three things I should do to try to get us up to speed?
I think one of the first things is just become aware of what's going on. So, and what technologies are out there that are commonplace and are used, and just get in touch with that.
Get up to speed.
Yeah. That's probably the primary thing, and then take steps to include the church in that, in whatever that environment is.
So probably a good thing to do is, if you're not exactly totally in touch with this, there's got to be some people, young people probably, that are really into it.
Yes, there's a running joke at our church, because we do a thing where the pastor asks a question and looks for feedback, real-time feedback, and has, instructs people to text their response to this number. And if you don't know during the service, yes, and he jokes, if you don't know what I mean by text, then grab your 14-year-old kid and he'll explain how it works. Yeah. So, but texting is that joke was pretty good about 7 or 8 years ago. Today, it's not nearly as good.
Yeah, Jeff needs to get some fresh material.
Yeah.
So find out what's out there, and again, you can just Google some stuff. If you don't know what Google is, well, but the bottom line is get yourself aware on some things, and then the second step would be to if it's your website. I mean, most churches now have a website, and if I would look at your website first, because that's where newer people are going to go.
Right.
If they're
people are checking you out online before they come through the door.
And what does your website look like? Is it look like something from 1995? Or is it really looking a little more fresher? And that's always a controversial thing, because I am finding out over the years that website styles are kind of like clothing styles.
Oh, very much so.
They change.
Yeah, there's trends.
Nobody tells me when they do. They just seem like they pop up and they change.
Yeah, certain things are in and certain things are out. And
the look, the template look.
Yeah, whatever, right.
But look around a little bit and see what's going on, and instead of resisting change, I would embrace it. I mean, it's easy to get prideful and say, well, whatever, it works good for me, and don't worry about it. But I think you need to freshen up things occasionally. So freshen it up, figure out what needs to be done on
change that hairstyle.
There you go. Yeah. Are you talking to me directly? But so
I'm talking to me, I guess.
I think you've had the same hairstyle.
I know.
For the last 40 years.
Just not been in tune with the cool hairstyles.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, I would look at where you're at on social media. Because I really think as a church, you need to be out there some capacity. And we've talked about social media before. I would look at Facebook. Right. I'd probably start with Facebook.
Yep.
Unless you've got a bunch of people on Twitter in your church. And if you do, they're probably not in your church because you're not up to date. but I would go with Facebook because everybody's on Facebook. And then the key to any social media would be to interact with people and to post things and then
participate.
Interaction. So if you post something, interact with people. And then I honestly would consider getting your stuff online somehow. So if it's going to be just audio, do some kind of an audio message, post it online, post it on your website, post it on social media. And of course, obviously, we do streaming video. So we're going to push streaming video. We think video is a great tool to reach people and to connect with people. You might want to move towards video to do that. But I would definitely start in those directions. Yeah. So anyhow, interesting material. The book is called the iChurch Method.
Yes,
and it's Jason Caston. One of these days we'll have him on. We'll pick his brain a little bit. Seems like a really smart guy, very interesting guy. So Steve and I have been doing a webinar. We've been doing it the last several weeks or so, called Streaming 101 webinar, and we're going to do one next week as well. We've also got the recorded copies of those available too. So if you're interested in streaming video or you want to learn some things, maybe you're already doing it. I don't know if you've been doing it for a while. It may or may not apply to you, but it might not be bad to take a look at it. Let us know if you're interested in Streaming 101. You just go to our website, StreamingChurch.tv, and look under, what's the menu it's under?
Getting started.
Getting started. So just go to StreamingChurch.tv, look under the menu tab, Getting Started, and you'll see Streaming 101 webinar, which will be available. And we've also got the recorded version. We do a live one, but we also save it and record it. So it might be interesting for you to do that. And then check out some of our products. If you have not had a chance, go to greeter.church. That's the actual website. Just type in greeter.church. And look at greeter.church, see if it's something that might be good for your website. We're talking about innovation and the future here. And one of the things that I think is part of the future is when people go to your website, is there somebody they can talk to? Is there somebody they can chat with? Answer any questions?
Right.
So greeter.church is the answer to that, filling that void. So you might want to consider looking at. You can do a free trial. What is it, a 10-day free trial?
Yes.
And then also we, of course, have streaming video, StreamingChurch.tv, as well as mobile apps, churchapplive.com. I'm peddling our wares today because we had a little extra time. Mobile apps are another great way to connect with people.
All right. They are.
All right.
Are we done?
We're done. If you have a question, support at StreamingChurch.tv. We are available. This podcast is available anywhere podcasts are sold.
Yeah.
And it's free, actually. And then we're also on YouTube. Just look for StreamingChurch.tv on YouTube. We have the audio. And we're also on NewMediaMinistries.tv.
And iTunes.
And iTunes as well. And all those places. So check us out. And let us know what you think about what we just talked about. What do you think is the future of the church? You think what we talked about is that going to pass, or do you think it's just a bunch of baloney? I don't know. We'd love to hear from you. All right. So he's Steve Lacy. I'm Phil Thompson. We appreciate your time today. We hope that you're doing well, and we wish you a great day. And until next week, we will see you again. At least maybe you'll hear us again on this edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. And take care.